we see that the right arm is a little bit more visible for longer than the lead, right? That will help that pitch of the shoulders. All right, Jar, so let's talk about the pitch of the shoulders in the golf swing. And what we see with the professional golfer, at the top of their golf swing here, there would be a certain angle if we were to draw a line across the shoulders, right?
Yeah.
Now, the main reason being is the ball is placed on the ground, and to get that ball first contact, ground second, if I'm in a position here where it's very flat, well, then I have to compensate throughout the swing, right?
Yeah.
And we were talking before of a recent lesson that you were doing with an individual, and you talked about the relationship between where the end of the handle goes and the club head and how that affects the pitch of your shoulders.
Yeah.
Right? So let's use this specific example, the recreational golfer who tends to do the old lift and stand and how the club head gets behind, the hands raise up, versus the professional where we would see that within reason, if we're exaggerating the opposite side, the hands might stay in a little bit, the club head stays out a little bit more. That helps get that tilt, which then allows you to get that compressed strike. So talk me through a little bit from your perspective.
That's pretty common, right? That's probably one of the things that you've probably seen the most too. I probably like to kind of relate in with the relationship with the forearm rotation a lot too. So when you go take a setup, right? A lot of the times we're seeing this so much where guys would just go ahead and rotate that lead forearm so much right away. Now it doesn't force that lead shoulder to really move at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Now we know that with certain players like Ram, right? He does a little bit of that, works out.
Yeah.
But when we're trying to vanilla a player, right? I do a lot of this where we're just getting them to kind of, okay, we're feeling what a club head is. The club head has to feel light.
I like that.
As you kind of take it away.
Yep.
If you pitch it inward, now it's going to be pretty heavy.
Yeah.
So I just like the guys to feel like that club head feels light.
Yeah, nice.
And almost delaying that forearm rotation.
Yeah.
Which kind of forces them to kind of left bend, pitch that left shoulder down a little bit. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah.
Have you been getting a lot of kind of pretty good results just kind of working on focusing on that pitch of the shoulder early?
Yeah, well, see, the reason I like this and bring awareness to the specifics within that part of the golf swing is that when I think players, let's say they have a little bit of a flat shoulder turn, right? And subconsciously they're doing something with their hands, even if they don't or are not aware of it. And then we go, okay, left shoulder down. We find players then just get like super stuck. And they go, well, look, left side bend, I'm tilting. Well, now I'm reverse pivoting. What's going on here? So sometimes bringing awareness to the whole rather than just one segment is very important. And I think relative to what you just said then was excellent about the club head feeling light, because that is such a great sensation, because as soon as I let the club head go behind, well, the weight, this wrist, it's going to do what's called downhinge or ulnar deviate in this fashion. It just feels super heavy, right? You look at this back arm, well, that's not any powerful movement possible from that position, because as soon as they start to pivot, well, it's a tough time from here, isn't it?
Gotcha. Yeah, and I know that like when you're working with probably the average golfers, it doesn't matter as much, but maybe the better players, they're so specific with how they like to feel things. Certain players only want to feel things in their hands or kind of where that club is in space. Or, you know, certain players do want to feel a little bit of like a body motion. So I always just try to get to know them and obviously trying to understand of like how they're going to kind of achieve those positions the best. Maybe still steer them in the right way, but maybe trying to find a feel that works for them.
So a player setting up to the golf ball here, as they take that golf club back, the objective for them would be to feel that it is relatively light. We can see as a result of doing so, that feeling and sensation combined will help facilitate this tilt along with that forearm. And
Absolutely.
And I think the reference, especially from the face-on view, if we see that the right arm is a little bit more visible for longer than the lead, right, that will help that pitch of the shoulders.
Yeah, then you see kind of the trail shoulder kind of moving back, maybe getting a little bit of that thorax extension, right? I think that it really helps them with kind of how they form the rest of their backswing too, right? So when you go take a setup, I like to cue them on like, okay, first part of the backswing, let's feel that club feeling light. Now, as you start to kind of add some rotation into it, as the club switch ends, you're going to feel kind of the mass of that club or that weight of the club really kind of behind the hands now.
Yeah, yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
When,
Yeah.
when we're starting to kind of go back and do kind of in the wrong way, when we start to feel it heavy,
Mm,
right? And then we go light later,
mm,
where that club feels
yeah,
sticking back up,
yeah, exactly.
right? So a lot of times, and this is not what I came up with.
Mhm.
It's from taking lessons for many, many years,
Of course.
and a really good instructor, gave me a feel. It's like, wow, that does feel really good. I can just feel like my club goes light
Yeah.
as I put in some rotation. Kind of gives them a sense of where that club is in space.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that's an excellent way to put it. And something that no matter who you are, you can have a sensation and idea of the weight of the mass of the club by simply just getting yourself into a position where you go, okay, what does heavy feel like? And even just isolating that movement by itself, well, that feels extremely heavy. Versus as I allow my body to turn a little bit, now that feels light. The club feels very in control. And if we simplify that as well, and we just stand up, have the golf club out in front of us on a horizontal plane, and I just do that, well, the club head moves underneath the hands, which of course is going to make it feel heavy.
Absolutely.
If I just allow my body to pivot, that feels soft, that feels light, then I tilt down, well, now all of a sudden we're in that position. That would then help facilitate the rest of the backswing to get that underneath us.
Yeah, and I think there's just such an emphasis now, and it's become pretty popular with much smarter people
Yeah.
than I am. But just the idea of like when you're setting up to it, and we're always just as golf instructors, we know, okay, center of mass of the club is you're swinging maybe kind of out here, right? I'm just trying to get that center of mass of the club to be above the hands.
Yeah, above the
pretty
hands.
kind of quickly, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're talking about as far as maybe that club head feeling a little bit inside of the hands.
Yeah.
As the mass of the club is kind of above the hands early, right? And I would say that probably maybe in line with kind of the center mass of the body now. Now they can kind of add in turn.
And straight away we've got that hinge that we're looking for as
Feeling
well.
like it's heavy where, when you go back and you're like, okay, mass of the club is still down. Now they know they're not going to get any speed out of this.
Yeah.
So they're going to actually have to work that mass up much early or
Start
much
lifting
later.
the arms. Yeah.
And, I know that works with some players, but again, with when I'm working with the average golfers and I'm trying to kind of vanilla them out to a certain extent, that's probably the thing that probably you and I fall into.
Yeah, there's an orthodox technique for a reason, right?
Yeah.
It's because unless you have supreme skill or you're a thoroughbred and you're hitting thousands of golf balls a day, the golf club is designed in a certain way to swing in a circular fashion and come back to this orientation. And the more weird and wonderful shapes that you're making throughout the motion, unless you do have the ability and the time to match that up, well, there's an easier way to do it.
Yeah. And it's like we definitely see, the average golfer is definitely getting too far this way rather than too far.
Great.
Kind of out that way, of course.
All right, dude. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get that feeling and just hit one down here. I can feel that the hands are going in. I can feel that the club head feels light. And as a result, the pitch of my shoulders is now in a position where I should, let's hope, get this ball first, ground second contact. You know what?
You just never hit a bad shot, dude.